Welcome to CBS Sports HQ on a Wednesday. Amanda Guerra, Chris Hassel with you, and Ran Carthon in studio, which means we are very close to the NFL season. We also have Kyle Long joining us, who was supposed to be here in studio, but he told us only one one handsome bearded man in the building at a time?
That is correct. Only one handsome bald bearded man in the building at one time.
I edged you out, Kyle.
Unbelievable.
Hey, Kyle just got back from Bears camp. Kyle, I've been reading some stuff on social media from reporters that have been there that Tyson Bagent, the backup quarterback, has a better handle on the new offense than Caleb Williams, who didn't play in the opener, but he is going to play Sunday against the Bills. What have you seen from him so far?
Well, every quarterback has their strengths and weaknesses. It's no secret that Tyson Bagent is one of these guys that everybody kind of rallies around when he's been given the chance to play. When I played, it was Josh McCown behind Jay Cutler. Everybody was always like, what if Josh McCown plays? But as it pertains to Caleb Williams, look, every single time he steps onto the field under this Ben Johnson offense, he will be better. The game will slow down more and more for him. And in addition to that, every single player around him is going to be getting better as well. The offensive line will start to congeal, and we'll start to see an offense with an identity. I don't expect them to hit the ground running at 100 miles an hour, but I anticipate Caleb making big-time strides this offseason and rolling into the regular season.
Yeah, and I can second that. I just feel like with this offense and the Ben Johnson offense, it took Jared Goff a little time to get used to it. Now, for Jared, he was coming off multiple coordinators, and for Caleb, he had a certain system that he had at Oklahoma that actually carried over to him at USC, and now he's going into his, third offense now in the league, so it's going to be a little bit, but I expect him to be able to pick it up. And the one thing that Ben Johnson does better than most coordinators is he'll cater the offense to what his quarterback does well. So there'll be enough in the package as a whole that'll help Caleb come along until he fully masters the system.
Kyle, let me ask you a follow-up here, because I was listening to your podcast, Pushing the Pile, and you were saying that not only has Tyson Bagent been really good when it comes to practice, but just his leadership skills and how intelligent he is. And the Bears are kind of trying to figure out, what do we do with him? So is there an answer to that?
Yeah, well, Rand can speak to this as well. There's always guys in the building that have the unquestioned respect from their teammates, and Tyson will always be that guy. As far as the value goes, and having a guy like Tyson Bagent on your roster, if something, knock on wood, were to happen, if Caleb Williams were to break a shoelace, as an O-line coach used to say, then Tyson Bagent would be able to come in there and bridge that gap pretty seamlessly. So it's great news for Bears fans to hear that he's taking a hold of that offense rather quickly.
Yeah, you can never have enough of these guys. It just is what it is. And like Kyle was saying, there's always that one quarterback that's in the building that everyone absolutely loves. And I would challenge you, as you watch this next preseason game, watch how many people are seated versus standing watching Tyler Bagent when he's in, because those guys will be there. Look, Teddy Bridgewater just went from being a successful coach in high school here, and now he's back with another NFL franchise. And not because he's going to push Baker Mayfield, but he's going to be the guy in there that galvanizes the team. The team will rally around him. So I will challenge you, everyone out there listening, when Tyler Bagent is in the game, watch how many guys are seated versus guys that are standing watching.
Is that a bad reflection on Caleb Williams?
No, not at all.
Okay.
And not at all. It doesn't have any reflection on Caleb Williams. It's just, that's just how this game works, and that's how the NFL is. There's always that one person. It doesn't matter what the position is. We're just so happen to be talking about quarterback. But there's always that one guy that everyone on the team is rooting for and they want to see do well.
It kind of reminds me of wherever Jameis Winston goes. I mean, he's that guy no matter if he's starting or if he's not. He's the guy that they're all looking at. All right, so that's the quarterback with the Bears, or the quarterback situation with the Bears. Let's talk about the Browns. So Shedeur Sanders, we saw him start in that first preseason game. He impressed a lot of people there. Not only that, Dylan Gabriel has been nursing a hamstring injury. This from Mary Kay Cabot. She is a beat reporter from the Browns. Quarterback Shedeur Sanders suffered an oblique injury during early throwing drills versus the Eagles. Is shut down the rest of practice. It means Dylan Gabriel might start against the Eagles this weekend if Shedeur Sanders is not able to go. It has been a very interesting quarterback room and situation for the Browns. How are you feeling this whole thing out, Rand?
Well, I think first we need to start by just studying what the Browns quarterbacks are doing during practice for everyone to keep getting hurt, because this is the first time I've ever heard of multiple quarterbacks going down.
Three. I think all three of them, or four of them, even
that's not a contact type, injury. And I say that tongue in cheek, but an oblique injury is really critical for the quarterback position. We joke and laugh about Dak Prescott's little warm-up where he's swinging his hips, but a lot of that is hips and oblique. And so it's a pain tolerance type of injury. Is it something that he can shoot up and he can play through? Or they may be in a situation where, hey, sit this one out, Shedeur. We've seen you, and now we want to give Dillon Gabriel this same amount of snaps we gave you to see if he can play and how he's going to progress in the offense.
Yeah, they definitely got to see a little bit of Shedeur during, this past preseason week. And I've never been a quarterback coach, but he showed me a lot of poise. He showed me a lot of calm in the pocket. And, if this is something that's going to be a pain tolerance thing, just sit out the rest of this preseason. It wasn't like he was in line to be the starting quarterback. Let's see what we got with Dillon Gabriel. Give him an extensive amount of volume in terms of work in the preseason and roll from there. Look, we knew that this was going to be an interesting quarterback room, so buckle up and get ready for it. If you're somebody like me, I hope that Shedeur gets fully healthy and gets an opportunity to compete for that job somewhere down the road here, because, hey, you can't run from your bloodline. I can attest to that.
Kyle, so let me ask you, do you still have him fourth on the depth chart?
You know what? There's no such thing as fourth on the depth chart. There's starter or not starter. And whatever the situation is that your football team gets into, that's when you make that choice. But, you don't give trophies for second, third, and fourth place at quarterback.
Well, I just look at it like this. They say you can't lose your position due to injury. So the two guys that were ahead of him, not counting Flacco, were injured guys. But like Kyle said, at this point, everyone, it's Joe Flacco as a starter, and then it's everyone else. And it's three people competing for two spots. And so it'll work itself out. But like I said, this is a gift and a curse with these injuries, because it forces other guys to play an extended time versus trying to chop up reps to get everyone an equal amount. So this will be a good opportunity for Dillon Gabriel to step in if Shedeur isn't going to play, and now he'll get to play a half, maybe a little bit more into the third quarter to prove himself.
Flacco's 40, the presumed starter. Are you doing whatever you can to keep him out of any preseason action?
Well, you want to get him a little bit of action just with the ones and get those guys going, which I would assume that game 3 will be the dress rehearsal where your starters will play. But he's 40. So I know how it feels to wake up at 40.
Every person on this desk knows how he feels.
Listen, I struggle after a 3-mile walk, and this guy's doing NFL practices. So they're going to protect him and make sure he gets to game 1. But like Kyle alluded to, after game 1, we'll see how long he's able to maintain that spot before one of these young guys come clipping at his heels.
All right, let's stay on the injury front with Dolphins linebacker Chop Robinson. He was carted off the field this morning with a knee injury. Scary situation, but he has posted since on social media that he thinks it's nothing serious and that he's good. Kyle, what does he mean to that defense that's going to look a lot different this season, especially behind him in the secondary?
Well, look, if you've got question marks on the back end, the best way to solve that issue is to pin your ears back and let those freak flags fly up front on the edges. And they've got some guys who can do that for the Dolphins. Let's just hope, another knock on wood, that it's nothing serious. And I trust Chop Robinson. Nobody knows their body more than the athlete telling you about what injury they're going through. So if he says it ain't serious, it ain't serious. And I know the Dolphins fans, everything kind of hangs in balance. What's Tyreek's deal? What's Darren Waller going to do? Is Jalen Phillips going to be healthy? Oh, no, now Chop Robinson is on this question mark list. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. But look outside, you're not vitamin D deficient. There's some good things to be a Dolphins fan.
Yeah, for me, I'm always cautious when especially a practice report, when we say carted off. Right? Most teams will, if there's some type of lower body injury, you don't want the guy to put pressure on it until you can get your doctors to check it out. So the easiest way to do that is to throw them on the back of the cart and take them in. And so I've seen guys get carted off, and then 15 minutes later, they're right back in practice, right? So it's one of those deals where I just want to be, cautious. But to quote our good friend Brian McFadden here, when you talk about playing the secondary and the front end, make it hot so we can squat. And so it's all about being able to get that pressure up front, and it's going to make those DBs behind them look that much better.
You mentioned, or Kyle mentioned, sky falling. I mean, how do you feel like the temperature is if the sky is not falling, because it is hurricane season? I guess it would just be blowing in. What is your temperature of the Dolphins right now?
I'm still in the wait-and-see mode, because one of the things that everyone was critical about the Dolphins was saying it was a country club environment. everything was too easy. They didn't work hard or they didn't practice hard. And now they're ratcheting it up a little bit and things are more physical. And so now these same injuries that have haunted them before are still happening. And so it's one of those deals where it's like you can't complain about one and then you get the other and you complain about that as well. So I trust Mike McDaniels. I worked with him for a long time. Chris Greer's one of the vets in the game. He's been in this position a very long time. I know these guys have a talented roster. It's just right now these injuries are hampering them and they can't get everyone on the field together at the same time.
You know, you talked about a little bit of physicality. Is this a country club team? Well, I went up there and watched them in their joint practice against Chicago Bears this past week, and the thing that stood out to me was the sheer size on the offensive line. I got to shake hands and talk to Teron Armstead, longtime great NFL tackle. He's retired now. He's working with Patrick Paul, the offensive tackle for the Miami Dolphins, his replacement. He is part of that new guard that's going to be the spearhead for physicality in this Mike McDaniel offense. Keep an eye on the line of scrimmage. That'll dictate a lot of how far this team will go.
Former Dolphin Jalen Ramsey, now a member of the Steelers here, was talking to reporters and just talking about how in love he is right now with the Steelers. He said, one, I want to go to a team that's going to compete. He said, you know, I love Sean McVay, I love all my coaches, but there's something about Mike Tomlin. I've never had this much fun at camp. But can the Steelers compete? Did he go to a team where they can do that?
I think so. I think this defense is going to be lights out. And just because the acquisition of Jalen Ramsey and all the things that he can do. I heard Mike Tomlin speak how he can go from corner to nickel to safety all in the same practice, all in the same period, and handle that. And he's going to allow them to get their best DBs on the field. And we know what that pass rush can be with T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith bringing the heat off the edge. And so we know what that can be. Now, another 40-year-old at quarterback, we have to see what he's going to be.
41.
Excuse
41.
me. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Just put him in the 40 club. But now it comes down to what Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to do. They made the acquisition for DK Metcalf to add more explosive plays. Who's going to step up opposite of him? And then there's the question in the backfield. So all the questions really lean towards the offense. But like you said, Mike Tomlin is the head coach. He's never had a losing season in his career, and I expect that trend to continue.
You know what? At the end of my career, I spent a long time in Chicago, and I made the transition into retirement. It just wasn't right for me, and I had to get back into football. I got to pretty much handpick where I wanted to go, and along the same lines of what Jalen Ramsey's talking about with Mike Tomlin, I was drawn to Andy Reid in the Kansas City Chiefs. So I understand where Jalen's coming from, and it's just seeming like this football team is coming together in the right way, and I completely understand why a guy like Jalen, at not the end of his career, but on the back nine, would want to be somewhere with some predictability.
Find out how
Hold
far.
on 1 second. I think Rand needed a quick follow there.
Kyle, I like your slight flex on being able to pick
where
you wanted to be. I myself, as a former undrafted free agent, this rabbit never had the gun, so I had to go wherever I was wanted at that moment. So kudos.
You know where I always ended up though, Rand? The training room. So that's why we're here today.
We've seen some big running back extensions lately with hold-ins getting deals. James Cook got his 4 years, $30 million. Kyron Williams got 3 years and $33 million. Breece Hall was the first running back selected in that draft class of 22. He was pretty candid talking about his game and how, are you the next man up? Well, he said that they've done a lot more than me, and he doesn't expect a contract anytime soon. How would you deal with that if you're in the Jets front office? I got to imagine that's exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah, and that's what you expect a competitor to say.
It's so rare, though. It's so rare that, especially a running back, comes out and says that.
Yeah, but to your point, like with this running back deal, Kyron went first and he got 11. James Cook, he has 12. I think he got 12 per year was the average per year, and I believe that was the original deal that was on the table. He just had to let the other domino fall. Now, if Breece Hall goes out and he has another 1,000-yard season and shows his value to this organization, then he'll come in probably slightly north of James Cook, just simply put, just because of draft position and how that goes. And so it's one of those deals for him. He has to just prove that he can stay on the field and not be banged up and have his chance to get paid.
But to Chris's point, I mean, from a front office perspective, when we're talking about these holdouts and hold-ins and I want mine and give me what I deserve, we rarely hear a player speak like this. Is that refreshing for you guys?
Oh, absolutely. It makes your job easier. These hold-ins are pains in the, I don't want to get us fined, but they're pains because they present multiple issues. Because now you have one of your better players. He's in the building. He's in meetings. But then when it's time to practice, he's off to the side. And so now me as an executive, I have to walk through and I have to make eye contact with this guy, knowing what our conversations are. But also his teammates are looking and they're seeing how we're handling this. So it could potentially present a problem in the locker room because, like, hey, this is one of our better guys and we're not taking care of him, so are they going to do that to me? And so when you have guys that hold in, that's the one problem. But then the guys that hold out, they're not there, so that's a whole different problem. You just appreciate guys who are there to work every day and are willing to work through whatever the situation is. And then from a front office standpoint, you know he's in, and so you look to just hurry up and get it done.
You know what, when I think about what the Jets are trying to get accomplished, it's a lot like when we went there and invaded Normandy. We needed a lot of boats. They're going to need a lot of running backs. They're going to need a lot of offensive linemen. They drafted some offensive linemen. And you know what the great thing about running backs is right now? You said it, $12 million. Mike Renner and I were talking on Pushing the Pile today. That's about the number for a pretty good wide receiver 3 in the National Football League. And you're telling me you can get that kind of value for that kind of player, like a guy like Breece Hall, James Cook, any of these running backs? I'd say I love to hear what he has to say as a running back. It's great. It's humble. But I'll pay any of these guys $12 million if they can give me the value we've seen from some of these running backs.
Kyle, are you one of those like war nerds? That's like,
you know what? I got a TikTok, and some of my hashtags are like history, you know, U.S. history, war history.
Is that your definition of a
lot of
nerd?
it helps with what I talk about in football.
Okay.
I mean, if you're into war, you're not a nerd. If you're into Magic the Gathering, you're a nerd.
To what?
The Magic the Gathering? You were a Magic the Gathering person back in the day. You were a
I don't
nerd.
know what that means.
Well, that's a nerd.
To the promo. How about that?
Why don't you do it?
All right, we have a new product for you, a streaming product, the NFL Today Plus. It is going to be on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. leading up to the NFL Today. A lot of former players are going to be on the show breaking down the biggest stories of the week. Make sure to turn in on Paramount Plus.